Hi, my name is Henry, and today we're going to talk about high dynamic range imaging, or HDR. HDR is a technique that basically pushes the luminosity of a photo by using three standard photos of the same scene but with varying exposure levels. So I'm going to give you an example of what HDR is. So this is a basic raw photograph that I took of a Kalesa, or a horse-drawn carriage. This is the HDR image. Another example would be this photo I call Blind Melon of a street performer, and this is the HDR image of that. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, any camera that has that you can manually change the exposure of will actually work. You do not necessarily need a tripod. I'm going to show you that later as well. So let's pretend that I've taken my photos, and basically it comes open at my iPhoto. So this is where I store it. Alright, that's where I store the photo. So I'm going to open that. Now, you see, this is the normal exposure. This is underexposure, or 2 stops underexposure and 2 stops overexposure. So I set my auto exposure bracketing on my Nikon D5000 to 2. So those are the images. So I'm going to get the file. Put down iPhoto for bit. See, just to double check, those are the images that I want. Hit the space bar, quick look, and there. Those are the 3 images that I want. This is normal exposure, not really as normal as I want it to be, but that's normal. And that's the underexposure, and that's the overexposure. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to drag these 3 images into my Photomatics Pro software. So that's going to help me generate the HDR image. So I'm going to click OK. You can see the files are there. So click OK. Right. So what you'll see is basically a bunch of options. So let's go back to those photos and check. Align source images. If you were not using a tripod, then there's a possibility that your shot could be either shaking horizontally or vertically. So if we look at the shots that I took, there's not much of a shake there, vertically or horizontally. I do that by making sure I click on the shutter as I exhale, so that helps me a lot. I don't know if it will you, maybe, give it a try. Right? So what I'm doing is I'm setting it by matching features. Also, attempt to reduce ghosting artifacts. I put it on moving objects and people, because if you remember, the problem I have here are the 2 girls walking just behind my shot. See, steps there. That's my problem. So that's the reason why I set it at moving objects / people, and I set the texture to high. So now I'm going to click Generate HDR, and it's a bit of a sizable file, so it's going to take some time. Although I am using MacBook Pro at 4 gig, but we should really allow the program Photomatics Pro to reduce the noise and get everything together and cook. So this is a combination of the 3 images. If you notice, there are no ghosting artifacts on the 2 girls that are walking by. If you also notice, the blind guy is a bit underexposed, but we'll work on that in tone mapping. So I click on tone mapping, and as you can see here, it's almost what we want it to be. It's almost the image that we want it to be. So you could play with the strength basically of the HDR by using this slider. So if you notice, if I reduce the strength, it starts to look more like an overexposed version of the original photo that I took. Right? Color saturation, you already know that, so that's no problem. You can decrease that or increase that. What I want you to take note of is basically the smoothing in light mode. If you put minimal, it's very chiseled look. As you increase and you go to maximum, then you have those shadows like playing there in the foreground. So let's keep it to mid. I think mid is okay. You may want to pay attention to your black point as well. You want to give it a bit more detail, just bump that up a little bit. As you can see, the details coming out. It's coming up pretty well. And then all you gotta do is click on process. So that's gonna take just just a short duration of time as Photomatic Pro processes the images and maps it. And that's our finished product. But just like any other images, HDR images need a bit of post-processing work. You need to fix a little bit on the ghosting here, and you can do that. Photomatic Pro actually comes with a few presets that you can play with. Again, I'm no expert. I mean, I'm just like you. I want to learn, and I'm just showing you what I've learned thus far. So, all right, you go to presets, you go to custom, and you have a preset for grunge, which is like really like, you know, explosive color. Of course, you can control that with color saturation. So you just control it like that. Right, let's bring it back how it was. There's also the natural. Natural brings down the strength a little bit and gives it kind of a misty-like appearance. You go to smooth skies, which I clicked a while back. There's a bit of a little luminosity there. And painterly. See, those are the presets. Painterly is supposed to look a little bit like painting. I guess if you add black point, you know, it's gonna look just like that. So there. So that's, again, all you gotta do is click process, and then, you know, the photo is going to be done. Right? So this is the photo that we generated a while back. Now I don't like the fact that it's the horizon isn't proper, so I'm going to fix that. And I also want to fix like a little bit more on some of the colors. So what I do is basically I drag my photo to aperture. Aperture is very similar to Lightroom. So for those of you using Windows, there is Windows Lightroom, and you can use that as well. So it's very, very similar. So it's saved as untitled project. That's it. I'm going to edit it with a plugin. Oh, but first, before I do that, let me just click on adjustments. And again, basically just like Lightroom, just like Lightroom, there are a lot of adjustments that you can make, like exposure. You can do enhancements, you know, get definition, and so on and so forth. So we're gonna adjust the, we're gonna straighten it a little bit. So we're gonna use a slider for that one. So just it there. Slightly straight already. All right, so that's good. Then I'm gonna use another plugin to fix the color just a little bit. Of course, you can do that on the adjustment bar as well. I just wanted to show you that. Alright, so what I can do is I can target certain areas where I feel that there's ghosting, like this area over here. Right, let me just zoom in there so you see it. So I want to target that, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this like area just slightly small, and then I'm going to kill the brightness just by a little bit so the ghosting disappears, see? And it's not intrusive at all. The beauty here is that whatever color this black dot touches, it's going to change that, so I can just duplicate it, and the exact same thing happens without me hurting the orange kind of tone the skin of the guitar player. So I can work on the brightness of that as well. Make it a little bit darker as well. So what happens is the ghosting there starts to disappear. So you just have to balance that, you know, after a while, and then click on save. So that's how you basically generate an HDR image. You can just right click, export, and there you go. And that's how it is. You can straighten everything, change the colors if you want to. You can do that with Lightroom if you're using Windows. But you can also do HDRs with Photoshop, but I find Photomatic Pro much easier to use, and the sliders are very, very interactive, and you see the changes right there. So I hope I was able to help in a little way. Hope to see you in my next tutorial, and thanks for watching.